Today we are going to do some Google Drawings and we're going to practice basic digital art skills. We're going to start on this picture here of just a regular house made of shapes and simple colors. So let's start by first of all getting to know some of our toolbar tools. So this is to go back and undo something. This is to put it back on. We're not going to print. I don't know what that is. We're going to do zoom first. But then this is your select tool. So anytime you want to grab something, you need to make sure you're on the select tool. It is also the default. Your default is the select tool. This is the line tool. This is shapes, text boxes, inserting images, and then this is adding comments, which we don't use either. So we're going to start by picking one thing on our drawing that we want to trace all of. And what that means is that it all has to be the same color. So for example, there is no reason to trace the entire outside of this entire house. There's just no purpose to doing that. And then, so what color would you make that if you traced the entire house? We don't want to trace entire shapes because we have a blue roof or a red roof, a blue chimney, a light blue window, brown window. We're not tracing everything together. We're picking one thing that we're going to trace. I'm going to pick the first thing that I see on top, which is this blue chimney. So that's what I'm going to trace. In order to do this the best possible way, I'm going to zoom in on it. So I'm going to zoom, zoom, maybe twice. So you grab your zoom and you just click on what you want to zoom in on. To unclick or to zoom back out, you just right click like that. I'm going to zoom in one more time. All right, so then we're going to trace our blue chimney. I keep calling it a roof, I think. We're going to trace our blue chimney with what's called the polyline tool. Here is the line tool, but we want the polyline. So we're going to select a line right here with the arrow and pick polyline. All right, now my select has changed to a little four-headed plus sign. And so now I'm ready to trace this shape. Here is how the polyline tool works. I'm going to show you over here on the side. I click and let go. When you click and let go, it now has a line that is chasing your mouse. It's chasing it because it's ready to move on to the next spot. So then I can click here and now it's chasing me again, but it has a point right there. We call it an anchor point. I dropped an anchor. Now I'm going to drop an anchor here and keep moving, drop an anchor here. And so you can see how this is creating a shape. In order to create a shape that you can fill in with a color, you must drop your last anchor at your first anchor. What that means is it has to drop right in the same point that you started. You can kind of see that when I get close, my line automatically kind of snaps because the first anchor is kind of magnetized to the last one. Do you see how it's kind of snapping that line? It wants to be a closed shape. So I'm going to click again, and you'll know if you did it right if your shape turns this light blue color. What that means is now this is a full shape ready to be changed. Well, I don't want my shape to be over here. I want to make my shape over here. So I'm going to delete. To delete this, I'm just going to hit backspace one time. And there we go. So I still have my four-headed plus sign. So I'm going to click on the corner of my chimney here. And then I'm going to click over on this part. You can see that there's a curve on my chimney that my line won't do. So to solve that problem, I'm just going to click a few times. So I clicked here and now it's following me. I'm going to click here, click here, click here, click here, and click here. It's not perfect, but it's closer than it was. So now I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to click here. I could probably get away with one long straight line here. Click here. I can definitely get along with one straight line here. Click. And now we have another kind of curved line. So I'm going to click, 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 and click. And there we go. I know I got it right because it turns this light blue color. You will have a problem sometimes where you accidentally click twice too close together and it's going to finish your line early. I will show you that in a second. If you have that problem, just press backspace and try it again. The best solution to not getting the dreaded double click is to make sure that you're zoomed in on something as much as possible. I forgot to show you what it looks like when you accidentally do the dreaded double click. So let's say like I'm trying to trace my chimney here. I'm going to select my polyline tool, polyline, and then I'm going to, I'm on select tool for some reason. I'm going to click that again, polyline. I'm going to click here, click, 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 and keep all your clicks really far apart. But let's say something happens and you accidentally make two clicks really close together. Do you see how it turned my line thick? And it put this light blue border on it. It's a little hard to see because it's right next to a light blue shape. But what happened is that it turned my line into a line shape. Once that happens, unfortunately, there is nothing you can do with this line. You have to delete it and start over. I have petitioned the people at Google and asked them if they can come up with a way to undouble click, but so far, nothing. So once you have accidentally double clicked and created a line instead of a shape, your only solution is to click it and hit backspace and start over with tracing your shape. This won't be so hard on a little shape like a chimney, but when you're doing very large, very intricate shapes with lots of curves, this can present some problems. Fortunately, I have a lot of great tips for how to do those really intricate shapes without constantly getting the dreaded double click. So what I'm going to do now is I want to actually move the chimney that I have made so that I can change it to the right color. So I'm going to click the select tool, and now I can move it. So now it's next to the shape where I'm trying to match the color. And so the paint bucket is my color changer. So I want to get this kind of deep navy blue. Let's try, that's pretty close. It's a little more gray than that. That might be just as close. It might be a little farther. If you want to make a custom color, you can go here to custom and try to make it a little more grayish. I think I'm getting too dark now. Let's try that. Let's see what that looks like. That's pretty close. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and that's fine. So this is going to be what I do for my chimney, but there's one big difference between these two shapes, which you can see a little better if I click off. I'm going to click off. So you can see between these two shapes, they're a similar color, but the one thing this shape has that this one doesn't is this thick black border that makes it look like a cartoon. So I'm going to select my shape again, and I'm going to give it a thick black border. The border is already black, but what I have to do is I have to make it thicker. In order to make your outline thicker, we're going to change the border weight, which is right here. Let's see what 4 looks like. I'm going to click off so I can test it. I think 4 is pretty good. I could maybe go 1 thicker. That might be too thick. I'm going to let you guys decide. What do you think, 4 or 8? And so now, once I have it selected, I can take my chimney and replace their chimney. So there we go. And now I'm ready to zoom back out so I can just do fit, which means the whole thing's going to fit on the screen. I'm going to click, oh, oops, I'm not on my select tool. That's why it zoomed in. I'm going to do fit, select tool, click off, and now it looks like the picture just has a slightly different color chimney. So that's how we are going to do this. That is the simple way to start. So go ahead and give that a try. Trace one shape, change the color, match the style.